Now this is a story all about how Lear's like got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute to sit right here. This is the tragic life of a man named King Lear. In 18th century, born and raised in the castle is where he spent most of his days. Chillin' out, maxing, relaxing, all cool. That was when his daughters made him look like a fool. Asked his daughters about their love and that was no good, so he kicked Cordelia out of his neighborhood. He got one little fight and his mind got weird. Now it's time to say hello to the story of King Lear.
King Lear was written by William Shakespeare in 1606. This work is full of tragedy and unstable families. So, sit down and get ready for this awful tragedy. And I mean awful. King Lear is an awful father with terrible sense of judgment. He had everything at his fingertips, but decided to give his responsibilities away so that he could die carefree. In order to give his kingdom away, he asked his 3 daughters how much they loved him. Goneril, one of 2 snakes in the family, responds with a long speech full of fake love that pleases Lear. But let's be honest, no one loves Lear that much. Snake number 2, aka Regan, retweets the statement. Cordelia, the youngest daughter, responds, "Sorry, Pops, I got nothing." The kingdom is split between Goneril and Regan, while Cordelia is banished. Even though Cordelia literally has nothing, the Prince of France comes and takes her away. Kent, who is a servant loyal to Lear, tries to convince him that he is making a huge mistake. Lear, who is obviously PMSing, banishes him too. The next dysfunctional family consists of a father and 2 sons. Gloucester, he's the dad. Edgar, he's the favorite because he's the legit son. And Edmund, he came from a one-night stand. Do I need to say any more? Anyway, one day jealousy overcame Edmund, and he decided to sabotage Edgar and their dad's relationship by convincing Gloucester that Edgar was planning to kill him and take over his land. But we'll talk more about that later. In the meantime, Kent returns to the kingdom disguised as Caius because he still wants to serve Lear for some unknown reason. And since he is the only servant that still respects the quote-unquote king, Lear accepts him into the kingdom. One day, Lear shows up with his gang of 100 knights, give or take a few. This makes Goneril and Albany mad because the knights represent power. This later drives them to get rid of his knights. The fool told Lear straight up that since he was no longer king, he would not be treated as one. This infuriated Lear, causing him to leave and seek his other daughter Regan, because she is bound to love him more. He sends Kent to Regan, who is staying at Gloucester's home, with a note telling on Goneril and all of the mistreatment he has been through. While this is all going on, Edmund convinced Edgar, the legitimate son, to run away because their dad wants to kill him. After Edgar leaves, Edmund cuts himself and blames it on Edgar. This act caused Gloucester to leave the land and money to Edmund. Kent then arrives with the note from Lear, along with a messenger sent by Goneril. The 2 duke it out, and it is ended by Regan, because she put Kent in stocks since he was sent by Lear. When Lear shows up, he goes on a rant about being disrespected and was given an ultimatum by his daughters. Lear being a child, he runs away into the thunderstorm. Kent and the fool follow a few paces behind. The storm causes Lear to go insane. This mindset sticks and doesn't go away.
Here I stand your slave, a poor, infirm, weak, and despised old man.
Back at the castle, Regan and Goneril try to convince Gloucester to shut and lock the gate, which he agrees. Like I said before, they're snakes. Anyway, Gloucester feels guilty about the mistreatment of Lear and requests aid from France and decides to seek comfort in Edmund. Edmund uses this information and seeks out an opportunity to destroy Gloucester. All right, back with Lear and his followers out in the storm. They run into Edgar, the legit son who is now disguised as poor Tom. They also run into Gloucester, who helps them find shelter from the storm. When they arrive at the shelter, Lear and the fool have a fake trial of Regan and Goneril betraying him. When Gloucester goes back to his castle, he overhears plans to have Lear killed. To avoid this, he sends them to Dover. Gloucester is blindsided by the news about the French aid arriving. He is interrogated by Regan and Cornwell, who end up plucking his eyes out. He didn't see that coming. Cornwell was attacked by a servant and was fatally wounded. Gloucester runs into the world and meets his son Edgar without knowing who it is. He asks Edgar to take him to a cliff that he can jump off. Edgar agrees, but takes him to a hill instead.
This world I do renounce, and in your sight shake patiently my great affliction off. If I could bear it longer and not fall to quarrel with your great opposeless wills, my snuff and loathed part of nature should burn itself out. If Edgar live, oh, bless him! Now, fellow, fare thee well.
A few moments later.
Edgar meets him and pretends to be someone else and convinces him to want to live. Lear is running around when the French army shows up to take him to Cordelia, but Lear runs away. We are all disappointed but not surprised. The army guys run after Lear to reunite him with Cordelia, leaving Gloucester and Edgar to fend for themselves again. Oswald, who is a servant loyal to Goneril, hunts down Gloucester to kill him, but Edgar kills Oswald instead.
I woke up in beast mode.
Edgar takes a note from Oswald's pocket and reads it. It is a note from Goneril to Edmund about how she wants Edmund to kill Albany so they can be together. He dresses up as a peasant and takes the note to Albany and runs away.
These girls ain't loyal.
While one son is saving his father, the other son is starring on The Bachelor. Edmund has both Regan and Goneril wrapped around his finger. The two sisters start fighting over who is to marry Edmund. After some time, the French army meets the English army, and the French lose. Cordelia and Lear are taken prisoner, while Edmund orders a guard to kill them both because, reasons. Regan and Goneril are still fighting over Edmund, so Goneril does the rational thing and poisons her sister. Albany then accuses Edmund of treason with a trial by duel. Edgar and Edmund fight to the death, and Edgar wins.
Look, I woke up in beast mode.
After Edmund dies, Albany confronts Goneril with the note she wrote, so she kills herself. Ever heard of anyone dying of joy? Yep, that's Gloucester. After he finds out that the guy who had been with him the whole time was Edgar, Lear comes sobbing with his dead daughter's corpse in his arms. After all the tragedy sunk in, he became hysterical. In the end, Lear dies of a broken heart.
Me and my broken heart. All I need's a little love in my life. All I need's a little love in the dark. A little, but I'm hoping it might kickstart.
Hi, I'm Carson Weaver,
And I'm Emily Betts.
and today we're going to be asking people what they learned while reading King Lear. Let's go. Hi, what is your name?
Justin Brown.
What did you learn from the video King Lear?
Actions speak louder than words.
Care to elaborate?
Cordelia loved Lear, even though it was just like a daughter should love her father. She ended up trying to save him after everybody abandoned him, and Edmund betrayed his father and brother to get ahead.
Wow, that is amazing. You heard it here first. Now, on to the next contestant. Hi, can we use you for an interview? Sure. All right.
What is your name?
Avery Latoma.
What did you learn from the video King Lear?
You could have 20/20 vision, but be blind to the world.
Care to explain?
Basically, Lear and Gloucester were both blind to what was going on. Their offspring were just going at them and really like attacking them. They just had no idea.
Valid point. Is that all?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, after deciding themes, we are now going to point out literary devices used in King Lear.
Let's go. Well, hello, people we have never met.
Hi.
Hi,
What is your name?
my name's Grace.
Avery.
And what are some literary devices that you noticed in King Lear?
I noticed the dramatic irony. Like, we knew that Edgar was Porton, but Gloucester didn't.
Very good point. Grace, what did you learn?
There was a tragic flaw in King Lear. He was arrogant and didn't think that what he was doing was wrong. And it led him to make bad decisions. which led to his downfall. I also noticed the monologue. As Gloucester was standing on top of the hill, he made a speech about Edgar and how he wished he was there.
Very good point. You really read the book, didn't you?
Of course.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And that concludes King Lear.
The end.
Anyway, shoot, we have to redo it because
Gloucester.
the people reading the book noticed that Edmund played.
Edgar. But it's okay, we'll start over.
I'm no cat.
He ended up plucking his eyes out. He didn't see that coming.
Oh wait, it's hard to read when you're blind. Someday at Christmas there'll be no war. No.
You are fake news.
Boy, you do